Wuhan Development and Reform Committee, and Madam Dang Zheng, Director General of Wuhan Bureau of Economy and Informationization, and Mr. Li Lin, Deputy Director General of Wuhan Economic and Technological Development Zone, and Mr. Li Yang, Deputy Director General of Hubei CDC. May I first ask Li Yang to update you about the situation in Wuhan, in Hubei, about COVID-19. As of April the 4th, Hubei registered a total of 67,803 cases, and 50,000 of them are from Wuhan, accounting for 74%, and the remaining area accounting for 26% of the province's total cases. As for yesterday, Hubei had 0 new cases, and there were no imported cases from overseas. And for other regions, in addition to, apart from Wuhan, there has been no new cases for 14 consecutive days, and we are still hospitalizing 678 cases, and 267 of them are in severe conditions. As of yesterday, total deaths in the province reached 3,210, and yesterday there were 3 new deaths. All of them are from Wuhan, and as of yesterday, we have cured a total of 63,945 patients, and yesterday there were 183 patients discharged from hospital. All of them are from Wuhan City. Yesterday there were 23 new confirmed cases for asymptomatic patients, and we are still observing 751 patients with asymptomatic characteristics. And now may I introduce to you about the resumption of industrial operations in the province. Good afternoon. Wuhan is among the hardest hit in all the cities in Wuhan by this pandemic. And after several measures, we have worked out a mechanism to resume our operation. A lot of the efforts were made by local officials, and the population answered the call of the government by wearing masks and by avoiding population congregation in public places. And we are also resuming the service for public transportation, and we are also focusing on the closed-off management at residential communities, and in so doing, we are also recovering industrial operations, and we are protecting the security and safety of people's lives. And all of this are laying a foundation for the work resumption and boosting the confidence of investors operating in Wuhan. At present, the pandemic here inside China, with Wuhan as the main battlefield, has basically claimed a victory, and we have scored dramatic achievements at the residential community level, and we have 98.4% of the residential communities registered no cases. And there are 1,989 villages in Wuhan registered no cases, and this accounts for 99.3%. This is a hard-won result because we have been united under the leadership of President Xi Jinping, and we have placed a strong and draconian defense, and we have to see to it that this holds to the last minute so that we do not end up all the efforts in vain. And now let me introduce to you about the resumption of industrial operations. Wuhan was relatively late than other cities in China in this aspect because we encountered more difficulties in this regard. And under the leadership of the central leadership team and the provincial government, we did not delay our actions, and the municipal leaders have been fighting on the front line. And as of yesterday, a total of 10,897 enterprises have resumed their operation, and this is a rate of 93.6%, and 93.2% of the enterprises above designated sizes have resumed their operation. And for construction enterprises, 84% of them have resumed their operation. For real estate enterprises, 98.4% of them have recovered their operations. So in general, our resumption pace is faster than expected, and we designated different areas at different levels, and we formulated a very flexible and efficient approval mechanism and a strict control measure, a highly efficient service mechanism, and a flexible and efficient labor utilization mechanism. And we also mobilized the cadres to go down to the grassroots level of the society, and now all the market entities above the county level are able to resume their operation. And we also categorize these enterprises into different classes, and by focusing on the overarching goal of our governments. And we have promoted Dongfeng Honda and Huawei and a number of leading giants to resume their industrial operation. And this has significantly supported flow of people and also solved the problem of migration of labor. And we also improved our facility support to farming activities in spring. 277 enterprises at Great Fall have resumed their operation, and we also have more than 380 demonstrative cooperative plants have resumed their operation as of the end of March. And we are focused on the auto industry, bioscience, 5G, and electricity grid and new infrastructure, and helped a lot of enterprises to resume their operation. And total investments of this work resumption reached more than 2.5 trillion yuan. And recently, we are going to resume a new batch of enterprises. In light of some of the problems, we will come up with financial measures, and we will come up with some one-on-one targeted measures to support these enterprises to immediately resume their productivity. And for example, Longgang Enterprise and Dongfeng Honda, they are producing in 100%, and we are also laying a solid foundation for a larger scale of resumption of industrial operation. And on a basis of the existing policies, we have formulated a 21-point measure supporting SMEs, and we also worked out a 15-point guidance to support financial institutions to resume their operation. And we also worked out supportive measures to a huge number of enterprises, and we have designated a 20 billion relief fund for the enterprises to help those enterprises to get over the difficulties. As of April the 2nd, we have helped 158 enterprises who got involved in the fight against COVID-19, and we helped them with bank loans. And on the other hand, we seizing the opportunity of the 14th five-year plan, and we are seizing a lot of preferential policies from the central level. So we are trying to struggle for very preferential policies from the central government. And we are also setting up teams at the district and city level, and we mobilize the cadres to team up with our enterprises so that we can truly convey these policies to those enterprises. Another thing we do is to specify the responsibilities of different stakeholders, and we do not allow new infections and cross-infections among the population, and we keep a firm control and prevention over potential risks. Where it's deemed to delay the operation, we have to delay the operation until all the conditions are met. And we are also formulating contingency plans and emergency plans so that we can improve the capacity of the enterprises in fighting COVID-19. And we are also specifying the responsibilities of CDCs and city governments. And during the outbreak, among the 240 enterprises that have restored their operation, there is no cross-infection among the population. Now, Wuhan is a very important base for China in terms of auto manufacturing and farming, and Wuhan is also a very important pillar in the Yangtze River Economic Belt Initiative, and we are at an important opportunity period in seeking transformative and upgrading of our economies. And there are some setbacks due to the pandemic, but this pandemic will not change the overall trend of positive developments in Wuhan, and this will not shake Wuhan's position in the national economy, and nor will this outbreak stop Wuhan becoming a city with the population of 20 million, and it will not stop Wuhan elevating to a first-tier city in China. Now the floor is open for questions. Before you ask the question, please introduce yourself. Thank you very much. I'm with Economic Daily. Wuhan is supporting enterprises to resume their industrial operations. So how will we mobilize enterprises at different parts of the industrial chain to directly resume their operation? Thank you very much. As you know, Wuhan is a very important base for fiber electronics, bioscience, and also for pharmaceuticals. We have a huge number of enterprises who are leading companies in the province, but also important enterprises in the national industrial chain. So a joint resumption of industrial operation is crucial to normalizing our economic operations. So we are mobilizing the large enterprises so that they can play a leading role in guiding the resumption of small and medium enterprises. And we are mobilizing Dongfeng Honda, General Motors of Shanghai, and also Greece and media and higher air conditioners. And so we are also mobilizing Huawei and Foxconn and other 14 leading giants to quickly resume their operations. And these enterprises are correlating with more than 1,000 enterprises in this very important move. And so we have worked out two lists. We are particularly concerned about the enterprises that are deemed important to the global supply chain, and we are breaking through the big artery that is covering the supply of materials and parts. So for some key links, we are working together with these important enterprises by coming up with specific plans for employment, for logistics, and also for the supply of basic materials. We are breaking through the different bottlenecks in the industrial chain, and we are solving the problems in employment. And also we are forming a joint force in different links of the industry. We have already formed a comprehensive liaison mechanism covering Development and Reform Committee, Tax Bureau, Electricity Authority, and also informationization departments. And we are sharing information across different departments so that we can guarantee that these enterprises can have no worries in terms of water, electricity, and gas supply. With all these measures, we have effectively overcome the difficulties confronting some enterprises and industrial chains. Next question, please. And with China Daily, the construction of major programs is of crucial role to the overall resumption of industrial operations. May I ask, what are the specific measures in this regard? Thank you very much for your question. Wuhan has been following through the important guideline made by President Xi Jinping with respect to the resumption of industrial operation. We attach high importance to the leading role played by investment while controlling and preventing the virus. We have issued a guideline for enterprises to resume their operation. We have in place a daily reporting and daily coordination mechanism, and we are actively approving the enterprises to go back to normal, and we are solving enterprises to solve relevant problems, and we are helping those enterprises to obtain preferential policies. As of yesterday, among the programs above the size of more than 100 million, 75.9% of them have resumed. Total investment reached more than 200 billion RMB, and 190 of them are industrial programs, and 394 of them are real estate programs, and there are 297 social programs, and other categories of programs amounts to a total of 340, and we are going to follow with the arrangement made by the municipal government, and we are going to collaborate with relevant departments to commercialize a lot of these programs. And the first thing we're going to do is to transform the inventory program into reality, and we're going to simplify the approval process, increase the return rates of employees, and conduct on-site guidance. And we seek to recover all the 1,326 major programs to recover before middle April. And second, we are going to launch a campaign to ensure that 79 of these major programs can recover in the near term, and this involves a total investment of 157.8 billion yuan. And third, we're going to improve our service. And we have a liaison mechanism between cadres and enterprises, and we are teaming up with the enterprises by region and also by district. And the county-level cadres are working hand in hand with the entrepreneurs to promote 283 city-level programs to quickly recover. And we are helping these enterprises to relieve their pains, and we do all this to ensure that social investment programs can reach a total level of more than 200 billion. And with Legal Daily, what is the resumption like for enterprises above designated sites? Madam Dang Jin, please. Thank you very much for your question. According to the arrangement made by the central guidance team and the provincial government, we see to it that there is no rebound of the virus, and we also see to it that the work resumption can be conducted in an orderly fashion. As of yesterday, 2,853 enterprises have recovered. This is a rate of 97.2%, and a total of 490 laborers have returned to their job, and the electricity use of the enterprises above designated sites has reached basically the same level of last year. Most of the enterprises in Wuhan above designated sites have returned their operation. Dongfeng Honda, Wuhan Steel Corporation, and these enterprises, they have resumed 100% of their productivity, and auto parts and the fiber electronics have all resumed their operations. So in general, the productivity of enterprises in Wuhan above designated sites is well underway, and with this going on, we are making preparations and making contingent plans, and we have formulated the pandemic control work guidance for enterprises above designated sites. And we also worked out a handbook introducing 10 specific measures and some specific cases for those enterprises, which are very feasible and easy to rate and understand, so that the enterprises, they can play a key role in preventing against the COVID-19 while resuming their operation. And second, we have set up specific work teams. And the work teams go down to the grassroots level, and they go to the site of those enterprises to solve the various difficulties challenging these enterprises. And so with respect to the hardships experienced in the link of migration of laborers, we have arranged a number of public buses to help transport our workers back to their positions. And we also have negotiated a number of special trains. This helped more than 60,000 workers to go back to their jobs. And we are also solving problems in logistics, and on a daily basis, we are coordinating. We are launching more than 30 times of coordination for logistic problems, and we also worked out a measure to support SMEs to get over the difficulty. We are executing the policies, and in 5 specific areas, we have 21 specific measures, and we are reducing the VAT of enterprises. We are reducing the rates of social security payments of the enterprises, and we are also introducing a number of preferential financial supports to the enterprises. And we introduced special re-loan policies and farm-related loans, and so these measures can help reduce the cash flow pressure of the enterprises. In the next step, we are going to strengthen our services to enterprises, translate this policy into practice, so that we can resume the overall production of the industry. And with Hubei Broadcasting Daily, so Wuhan has the policy to resume industrial operation in an orderly fashion, well, on a basis of prevention and control against the virus. And the 2 development and economic zones, they must play a leading role in this aspect. I'm wondering, what are the specific measures at the new economic and development zones? Thank you very much for your question. Donghu High-Tech Zone is a national-level fiber electronic base and a national-level biomedicine base and a national production base for storage chips, and as of now in my district we have more than 11,000 enterprises resuming their operations, and for enterprises above designated sites 100% of them have resumed, and 100% of the affiliated enterprises have also resumed their operation. For real estate and development and online commerce enterprises, more than 95% of them have resumed their operation. While preventing against the COVID-19, we are promoting the resumption of industrial operations in an orderly fashion, and we are accelerating the pace. We are breaking through the key points and difficulty points. The specific measures that we have taken is to allow our leading enterprises to play an important role in leading the resumption of industrial operation. We are also focusing on 5G and the testing kit of COVID-19, and we are resuming the enterprises that are particularly related to the fight against COVID-19. We also strengthen our policy support. We introduce some reduction of cost and rents and tax, and also introduce some new subsidies. For example, we subsidize the enterprises in terms of technological research, and we also delay the enterprise payments in terms of tax and the social security fund, so that these measures can help these enterprises to guard against external risks in key areas such as fiber electronics. We are promoting the overall resumption of the whole industrial chain, and we have got flared array and storage chip producers, and they have been fighting the COVID-19 while sustaining their operation since the outbreak. And so we have another enterprise who had already more than 10,000 employees returning to their job. And we also have display manufacturers and Huaxin fiber electronics. And those enterprises, they have reached a resumption level of 80%. And for some 5G enterprises, they are seizing the opportunity of new investment, and they are actively expanding their market share. And another very important industry of ours is biomedicine. Huaxia and Ningzhe Biosciences and another 30 enterprises, they are fighting on the front line, and they have developed the testing kits and diagnosis kits in the first couple of weeks, and they also supported the building of an emergency lab. And during the outbreak, it has tested more than 300,000 cases. And Huada Genetics have been supporting the global fight against COVID-19, and the testing kits of Huada has harvested more than 1 million orders from globally, covering more than 70 countries and regions. Another biomedicine firm, Ningde Biotics, have introduced more than 6 products which have been approved by the EU, and now their products have entered a huge number of countries. And after the resumption of enterprises, we cannot slacken our efforts in the fight against COVID-19. And we are mainly taking 2 measures. And the first is a combination of management and service. And on the one hand, we focus on the responsibilities of jurisdictions, and we mobilize the enthusiasm of enterprises so that we can provide online and offline services, and we also provide on-site service. We have to put in place on-site prevention, and we have to have in place sufficient materials and contingent measures to fight against COVID-19. And so we allow our enterprises to make payments online, and our employees, a lot of them are working at home on the internet, and this has avoided the congregation of thousands of workers. On the other hand, we are introducing targeted measures, helping enterprises to procure sufficient materials related to the COVID-19 fight. And we are also helping the employees to return to their jobs. And we have circulated a huge number of handbooks for COVID-19 battle. And we also organized a huge number of enterprises in their work trainings. And we are solving the specific problems of employees in relation to dining and logistics. And we are also focusing on the technology side of this very important fight. We have introduced a negative list management system, and we are working together with the office buildings and relevant enterprises and the jurisdictions. So we have a very stringent control at the entrance of the office building block, and also at the entrance of the office building, and also at the entrance of the firm. So we are consolidating our defense at all these three layers, and we are working together with the fiber electronics enterprises, and we supported Gaude and Yixun Electronics and a number of other enterprises to develop a number of infrared ray temperature testing equipments. These have helped a lot of enterprises to resume their operation. We have developed some contactless infrared ray testing measures, so you don't need to take off your masks by simply staring at the equipments. You can register your information and you can get your temperature taken. So we have combined temperature checking and registration, and this can be done within 1 minute, and this has simplified the procedures. And in the meantime, we have organized a number of qualified enterprises to conduct nuclear testing for employees before these enterprises went back to normal. Next question, please. Thank you very much for your question. And Wuhan is an industrial base of the country. We are a main economic driver of the country, and we are actively resuming the operation of enterprises. And we are taking back the time wasted because of the outbreak. And as of yesterday, among the 1,164 enterprises in our province, more than 90% of them have resumed operation. And most of the e-commerce services in my district have returned to normal operation. And 77 or 73% of the construction enterprises have resumed their operation. And Dongfeng Honda and Dongfeng commercial vehicles have resumed their operation, and this has led to more than 500 auto parts manufacturers in my district to resume their operation. And Media and Grace and other home appliances brands, and they will resume their operation 100% prior to the middle of April. And in this process, we have mainly taken three measures. The first is to strengthen coordination according to the requirements of the municipality and the province. We reduced and simplified the approval measures. We set up a coordination mechanism, and at 7 o'clock every day we hold a meeting, and we bring person in charge of Honda to the meeting so that we can stabilize the market and stabilize supply. And secondly, we embrace this principle of high efficiency. We worked out a 18-point measure to bring true benefits to our enterprises. We identify their problems, and we offer point-to-point transportation services for those enterprises, and we have helped a huge number of laborers to return to their jobs. The development zone has also installed more than 15 infrared-array temperature checking facilities, ensuring the employees can go back to their positions in a smooth manner. And third, we stepped up supervision. We worked together with the enterprises to do disinfection, to collect PPEs, and also we streamlined the risks in production and manufacturing, and we ensure that there is health and safety to all the laborers. Thank you. Next question, please. Hubei Daily. The fiber electronics and information industry of Wuhan is leading in China, and so how are enterprises doing in this particular industry? Thank you very much. The fiber electronics industry is a leading one in our city. Since March, we have focused on this particular industry, and in particular, we have focused on some leading giants, and we helped these enterprises to resume their operation. As of yesterday, enterprises above designated sites have resumed their operation 100%, and Changfei Guangqian and Ningde Electronics, most of these enterprises have resumed 80% of their operations. And in the next step, for some leading enterprises, we will continue to do a good job in the following areas. First, to help these enterprises in their employment so that we can solve their problems in employment and logistics. We will help these enterprises to increase the return rate of employees. And second, we will help the fiber electronics enterprises in their reconstruction programs. We will accelerate the pace of Tianma G6, and we will also help a lot of enterprises to improve their efficiency, and also we will help enterprises to seize the opportunity from the new infrastructure investment so that we can embrace the opportunity of big data, 5G, and Internet of Things. In the meantime, we are going to support enterprises in our city to step up investments and research and development so that we can improve our capacity in delivering substantial and market-winning products. And fifth, we're going to introduce more policies. We're going to summarize all those policies and convey them to enterprises. And we will also coordinate in the execution link so that we can truly bring these measures into reality. I'm with Hubei Broadcasting Daily, and I'm concerned about the auto companies in the development zones, and what are the measures that you have to resume the sound economic development of the city? Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. The auto industry is a key industry in a city, and it's also the #1 industry in a province. And the sound and healthy development of the auto industry is crucial to the sound economic development of the province. And because of the outbreak, we still have some problems such as the lack of capital and the shrinking market share. In order to minimize the damage caused by the outbreak, we're going to translate a number of policies into practice. And #1, we're going to follow through the agreement reached between government and enterprises. And according to the meetings conducted between government and enterprises, we are going to support enterprises, and we will follow through the 13th five-year plan agreement reached between Dongfeng Honda and the Wuhan government. And also we are going to follow through the 18-point measures made by the municipal governments. We have raised a total of 2 billion yuan as a fund to support the enterprises to get over these difficulties. And we also have some deductions and reductions for tax and fees and some financial burdens confronting these enterprises. And we try to reduce the financing cost of the enterprises and also reducing the factor cost of the enterprises. And we have already identified the financing needs of 167 enterprises. And for each of these enterprises, we will have a policy. And third, we are going to do a good job in service. We're going to team up with the enterprises so that our cadres can station themselves in the enterprise and solve the problems in relation to prevention and control of COVID-19 and in financing difficulties and also in a returning of employees so that we can consolidate our key industries so that we can stabilize the sound and balanced development of our economy. And with Peng Pai News. The industry has been hard hit by the outbreak, in particular the service industry. And what measures do you have to support this particular industry? Thank you very much for your question. In 2009, the added value of the service industry in Wuhan accounted for 16.8% of our GDP, and the service industry has become the main pillar of our economy. In order to mitigate the impact, we have mainly taken the following measures. The first is to identify the problems so that we can help them in a targeted manner. For the top 100 service enterprises in Wuhan and 1,300 service enterprises, we have conducted a sample test, and they say that there is a lot of pressure in rents and in cash flow and also in employment. And second, we help these enterprises to resume their operations so that we can activate the market. And we worked out a notice on promoting the work resumption of service industries, and we do so to guide enterprises to resume their operation in an orderly fashion. As of April the 4th, 2,810 service enterprises above designated sites have resumed their operation. This is a rate of 93.2%. We also help enterprises to reduce their pressure in capital, and as of yesterday, we have helped enterprises to obtain a total of 16.3 billion yuan of re-loans, and we are also helping more than 200 enterprises in solving their financing problems, and we also push preferential policy information to those enterprises. In the next step, the focus of our work will shift from work resumption to improving the quality of their operation, and we will mainly do a good job in the following areas. First, we're going to allow the leading service enterprises to play a more important role in mobilizing more enterprises to resume their operations, and we're going to set up a teaming mechanism to help these enterprises to get over their difficulties and to resume their operations so that they can also mobilize the enterprises at the upstream and lower stream to resume their operation. And because we have a number of service zones and a huge number of office buildings, and we identify the responsibility of all the stakeholders, and we will further identify the problem and solve this problem in a targeted manner. And the problems will mainly be solved by the district and the city level of government. And we also try to build bridges between the government and the enterprise, and we are currently collecting the financing needs of enterprises, in particular small and medium-sized enterprises. And we also launch a number of funds so that we can help the enterprises to resume their operation and accelerate their development. On the other hand, we built a communication mechanism between different sectors, and by working closely together with different industrial associations, we try to set up a liaison mechanism between different sectors so that we can mobilize the resumption of industries across different sectors. And third, we promote transformation. The outbreak has left an unprecedented blow to our service industry, but in the meantime, it has given birth to some new business models, and we are going to align our efforts with the drafting of the 14th five-year plan, and we're going to support the internet plus service industry and also the combination of manufacturing and service industry so that we can cultivate some new growth points and promote the high-quality development of the service industry. The last question, please. As for the difficulty of SMEs in terms of work resumption, what measures have Donghu District taken to solve the problems facing SMEs? Thank you very much for your question. For the Light Valley, the Light Valley is a demonstration center for mass innovation and startup by all, and during this epidemic, we have a lot of small and medium enterprises facing tremendous challenges. For these small and medium enterprises, we have a number of measures so that we can protect these enterprises in a targeted manner and help these enterprises get over their difficulties. On March the 25th and on February 25th and March 26th, we worked out a 22-point of measures and 44-point of implementation details. These measures cover financial support, subsidies, and enterprise services, and we introduce specific measures to these enterprises, and we have also specified the specific person to lead the efforts. We have also publicized their contact information so that our enterprises can get to know these policies in the first place. And second, in terms of helping these enterprises to mitigate the difficulties, we have set up a relief fund by working together with the People's Bank of China, and we are jointly building a financial support plan. In particular, we are focused on some hard-hit enterprises, and recently we are going to provide 130 million worth of subsidy to more than 1,000 enterprises. In terms of employment, we are helping enterprises to do a better job in employment. Companies such as Xiaomi, Foxconn, and Huazhong Technology, and a number of high-tech enterprises, they have brought their employment activities online, and in the meantime, we're going to support the high-tech enterprises to seize opportunity in new sectors, for example, distance education, big data, and 5G, so that in some of these new factors, we can embrace some substantial opportunities. All right, thank you all to the presenters, and thank you all to the questions of the journalists. This is the end of today's press release.